Hello, everyone, and welcome back in for another week of Palmetto Playbook. I'm your co-host, Alan Marcus Harder, the 5 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. producer here at WMBF News.
And I'm TJ Turner. I'm a digital content producer here at WMBF in Myrtle Beach. And we just had the Super Bowl, as everybody knows. And the Seahawks beat the Patriots 29-13. It started off not as a great game. It looked like the Seahawks were just dominating. And then the Patriots did fight back. Clearly not enough in this one. But it was good to see them not give up. I mean, I know it's the Super Bowl, so obviously you can't give up on the game.
Given how one-sided it was at one point, I started to feel bad for the Patriots. I was kind of rooting for them to at least get a few points there in the second half. But, as the old saying goes, defense wins championships. And
yeah.
I think that was pretty much the clear-cut reason why Seattle won. The offense still had struggles of their own. Sam Darnold didn't have a spectacular game, but Kenneth Walker doing a lot on the ground, as you see there, with over 150 plus all-purpose yards.
Yeah, over 150 all-purpose yards, gave him the Super Bowl MVP, which is the first time a running back has won it in 28 seasons, dating back all the way to Terrell Davis. And I honestly think in this one, the Super Bowl MVP award could have gone to Jason Myers.
That's who I was pulling. I was really hoping they'd bring him up on the podium after the game and give the award to the kicker. I don't think that's ever happened before. I think I said that in the broadcast. He had 15 points all of his own, which, I guess you could say he single-handedly beat the Patriots if you want to. I'm no math major, but 15 points is more than 13.
He did it all himself there. And like you said, the Patriots couldn't get anything going on offense. And the halftime show, Bad Bunny during the halftime show actually rushed with the ball for more yards than the Patriots did during the game. As you can see here, he wasn't going as fast as maybe the players on the field, but during the halftime show.
Kenneth Walker hit his style of running in that game. He was running very, slow, but with a purpose, finding those holes.
It was kind of Le'Veon Bell-esque.
Yeah.
Definitely good to see from him. And the halftime show, I know there's a lot of people. It's definitely a polarizing halftime show. I don't think there's many people who thought it was okay. Everybody either hated it or thought it was the greatest thing ever. I personally am kind of in the middle. I don't know a whole lot of Spanish, so I don't understand the songs and the culture as much as some people. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was amazing, but I also didn't know what he was singing.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Most times when you're in high school, you have to take a foreign language class. Most people pick Spanish. For some reason, I picked French. So I had no idea what was going on.
You were probably even more confused than I was.
I had no idea what was going on, but it was a vibe. It was a party.
Oh,
and, a few key moments that I like the aspect. The production value was really, really good.
It was very well put together.
A well-told story from the start to the very end. I kind of liked, we mentioned before we started recording, the whole wedding aspect of the couple that got literally married during the ceremony. The funny story there. It came out that they were having a wedding and invited. They had, I think, extra invitations, so they were just like, you know what? Let's invite Bad Bunny. What could happen? I think he originally turned them down, but was like, you know what? I have something better for you. You want to get married at the Super Bowl?
Instead of him accepting the invitation, he was like, you bring the wedding to the Super Bowl. And then, so that was a cool moment there. There was definitely a lot of cool cameos as well in there. You had Lady Gaga who came on and performed. And then there was a couple of cool people that just were involved in it. You had Cardi B who was up there. Alex Earl was on the stage, which I think was probably the most unexpected one to be up there.
There was a viral picture of Pedro Pascal out there.
He was up there.
In the corner of that picture, you had Ronald Acuna Jr. from the Atlanta Braves there. So then the baseball community was like, wait a second. Y'all focusing on Pedro Pascal, but Ronald Acuna Jr. is in the corner over here.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on, and especially in that scene in particular, where they were panning across the building there, and everybody was standing out on the front porch of that building. It was just a bunch of different celebrities, and I saw the one person they posted. It was their grandparent was going to the grocery store and ran into somebody at the grocery store, so they ended up being in it, just wandering around the stage. It was awesome.
Yeah, another aspect that I like the fact that there was like people in those tree costumes.
Yeah, yeah, all those like bushes, trees, plants. I don't know what they were across there. They were like individual people standing in the plants.
I don't think
those,
they,
not
I don't
those
think,
ones
I don't
there.
think there were those trees, but like on the outskirts. But it was funny because like as they were doing like the bump shot before this the show started, like they like I saw the trees there. I didn't think anything of it until one of them started like waving at the camera. So I was like, "Wait a second, are those actual people?"
Yeah, those there, those like are actual people standing there in those costumes, which was interesting.
Like, yeah, some of the stories that were coming out after the Super Bowl, just like the people, I guess the extras that were like posting their pictures in the tree costume. I'd love to know how they got that job. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, I'd be like, "Hey, do you want to be a bush in the halftime show?" And then moving back on to the football aspect of it, we have to give a shout out to some South Carolina alums and Ernest Jones, who tallied 11 tackles in that game. Kind of a funny moment afterwards. They were being interviewed. They were like, 11 tackles in the game, and he was like, "Who?" And they're like, "You." And he was like, "Oh." And then also Nick Emenwari, who was in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year, also both playing for Seattle, having great games. I think Nick Emenwari wasn't exactly like running across the screen a whole lot. You saw them testing Kobe Bryant more in that defensive backfield, and then Ernest Jones was all over the field making tackles. Nick Emenwari's kind of been leading that defense the entire season. It wasn't exactly showing like jumping off the stat sheet in this game, but he definitely had a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess hark back to his days at South Carolina. He may not have been the flashy guy on the statistics, but there's a reason people don't like go target his side of the field because he's just that dynamic of a player. And he had a few open field tackles, which was good to see. I'm glad Ernest Jones had a good game, and some stuff after the game that came out with his old teammate because he used to play on the Los Angeles Rams. I guess Puka Nacua didn't like the fact that Sam Darnold is now a Super Bowl MVP, or not an MVP, a Super Bowl winner. He has a ring to his name. Yeah, so Puka Nacua tried to troll him on Twitter, but then Ernest Jones stepped in and was like, "Ain't you sitting at home?" But then all the salty Rams fans were like, What'd you do on the field? I didn't see you on this TV. Well, I guess you weren't clearly watching close enough because the man had 11 tackles, 1 tackle for loss.
Well, the Rams fans don't watch the defense, Alan Marcus. They're only watching Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford. But yeah, Ernest Jones, great game. Great to see the South Carolina alums getting the recognition on the field and just making the plays in the biggest stage you have in football. And a couple of other Carolina people getting the recognition they deserve. Luke Kuechly, Hall of Famer now. He's been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And Tetairoa McMillan winning. Last week we talked about how we predicted him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and now it has come out officially that he has won the award, which is great to see. He's been great all season. I think definitely the most consistent rookie throughout the entire year.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, we kind of mentioned last week that I think he was the most deserving of the. I mean, there was players in that category that had flashier, like in spurts, but they didn't play the entire season, and I just think you have to give it to Tet McMillan for that. Just being a reliable piece for that Carolina offense.
Yeah, it's definitely good to watch him this entire season. And then moving over to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, they just ended the streak last night. They were going for their 10th win in a row, but the streak ended at 9 after a game against the Pistons in which 4 players were ejected yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think Friday night, the WWE Friday Night SmackDown was hosted at Spectrum Center on Friday night. I don't know how many of the Hornets players were there. I don't know if they were.
They're trying to reenact it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to do the Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, John Cena's impressions, but something must have happened. Fighting with the Detroit Pistons, which the historically very physical Pistons. Way back when the Malice at the Palace. I don't know if there's a good nickname for for this showdown at the. I don't know, like the Hive. I don't know, but yeah, it was definitely some entertaining, I guess.
Yeah, and then this ends a massive streak that the Hornets were on, as we mentioned before, and a massive streak for Brandon Miller as he throughout this streak and a couple games before the streak started, he went on a run of 20-point games, which now has brought his total to over 20 points per game on the year. And this young core, we've mentioned it week in and week out, how this team is so young and the expectations are kind of hard to look at because you don't know when the players are going to come into their own and when they're going to reach that potential that the team is banking on them reaching. And it seems like Con Knueppel, Brandon Miller, and those players are hitting their stride at all the right times, proving why they use those high draft picks on those players.
Yeah, I'm glad. I love to see the consistency from them, and I mean, sometimes when you come into the league, it takes a little while to get your feet going, but it seems like he hit the ground running, and it's good to see for them, especially now that they're making a push for that a possible like play-in playoff appearance.
With this last stretch of games, they've actually moved themselves into that 10 seed. They're gonna if everything stays the same as it is now, they will take the 10 seed and they'd have a seed in the play-in. But the team above them is the Atlanta Hawks, who they play twice over the next, I think, like 10 days.
Yeah.
Or the next couple weeks. But they play them twice in a short stretch. So if they can either split those or win both of those, that's going to put them at a 9 seed. And they're going to be looking at a shot at having home court advantage in a play-in game.
Yeah, which is crazy to see. But, I mean, we've seen crazier things with Charlotte-based professional sports teams this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And, of course, we're saying that now, so they'll probably lose like 15 straight and end up out of the play-in.
There is no shot the Hornets will. There's no shot.
We've been great at jinxing teams since this podcast started.
We got to keep it up at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how the Panthers were just going to get a good draft pick, and all of a sudden they were a playoff team. And the Charlotte Hornets, earlier on in the season, we said the same thing about them. We were like, yep, they're going to be in the lottery. Hopefully they can get a good pick another great player like Con Knueppel. And now they're like, nope, we're going to win every game in a row. And it's time for a push for the playoffs, which is great to see. And it seems like the front office is on board too, as they made quite a few moves at the trade deadline. They moved Colin Sexton and 3 second-round picks to the Bulls for Coby White, who's not quite ready to play yet, but I think he's a great young player, which will fit alongside that young core that they're building. And the Bulls made a bunch of moves too, and it seems like that's my team. It seems like they're going to see if they can stockpile as many second-round picks as possible, which I'm not sure I agree with, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Colin Sexton used to be like a really, really good player in the league. I mean, granted, I'm not too familiar with the ins and outs of the NBA. It just seemed like he never really got going in Charlotte, so it's, I guess, unfortunate to see him leave. But I mean, if you get a good return for him, I guess it makes a difference. I
really like that Coby White acquisition for the Hornets. I think it's going to be good for him. I think their guard play hasn't been the greatest. They've been playing Brandon Miller at more of like a shooting guard rather than a forward position, where I think he'd excel more off the ball as kind of a small forward. And I think if they can bring Coby White in to be the point guard that relieves LaMelo when he comes off the court, I think it'll be great for him, as he's a great scorer. He's able to put up 20 points a game whenever you need him. He can give you 25 a night. On any given night. And then another acquisition that they made a little bit under the radar was Malachi Branham, who they got from Dallas after he bounced around during the deadline. He was on the Spurs, and then the Wizards, and then Dallas, and the Hornets. There's been a few players like that. There was a couple players. There was one player that got traded to a team before the news dropped that he was traded to the original team. He got traded to, I can't remember where. Oh no! It was in this trade with Coby White, I believe, because Ousmane Dieng was traded to the Hornets and then traded from the Hornets to the Bulls, and the news dropped that he was traded from the Hornets to the Bulls before anybody knew that he was traded to the Hornets.
Yeah, I mean, things can move fast-paced when there's a trade deadline.
They also picked up Xavier Tillman, who will be a good forward big man for him for cash considerations from the Celtics. And then I think the biggest move in this trade deadline, just across the association, would have been the move between James Harden and Darius Garland, who were traded for each other. James Harden going from LA to Cleveland and Darius Garland going from Cleveland to LA. I think it's kind of a move to win now for the Cavaliers, as they're giving away a young piece for a player who's kind of on the tail end of his career. Granted, James Harden's had great seasons his entire career, and he's having a great season this season, which I think is why they made this move. But I think they're buying into the win now mindset as opposed to trying to develop Garland as they have been.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of action. There was another probably talking point around the trade deadline, the lack of moves for two players that were probably on the trading block for the past couple of weeks. Giannis Antetokounmpo with I probably butchered that name. Now that I was feeling a little ambitious.
I like the confidence.
I was feeling a little ambitious. I think I butchered it, but Giannis, we'll stick with that. He was on the rumored to be one of the players moving around the trade deadline from the Bucks, but he ended up staying. And then Ja Morant, I can say that name confidently, with the Memphis Grizzlies player that has Carolina connections, grew up in Sumter, played at Lakewood. It would have been cool to see him in Charlotte, but I don't know. But maybe that's just wishful thinking. But yeah, he's staying with the Grizzlies. Another player that was rumored to be possibly trade, because I mean the Grizzlies been trading around their good players. I know they got rid of Jaren Jackson, so yeah, I guess they're in the rebuilding mode. They're sticking with Ja Morant for the time being, anyways.
Yeah, it seemed like the Grizzlies were trying to be sellers, I guess, in this trade deadline, trying to get rid of their big names and try to get a lot in return so they can build kind of the foundation for the team moving forward as they go into this rebuild. I would have liked to have seen them move Ja Morant. I mean, for them and for the rest of the league, because Ja Morant's just going to be there for the rest of the season, and I could see them shutting him down early, which I personally hate when teams do that. I mean, there's certain teams. I believe the Bucks decided Giannis isn't playing anymore for the rest of the year. I know he's got an injury now that'll hold him out.
I didn't even know that.
That'll hold it. He was been held out for a couple weeks now. I think he's supposed to come back. Like, he's fit enough to come back, but I think they might be shutting him down for the season just because it doesn't really matter if they win any more games at this point. Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
It's
in
not
the
even
NBA.
the All-Star. It's not even All-Star weekend yet, and we're shutting players down.
I think they've decided he's not going to play after the All-Star break. I could be wrong, and they could just completely change that after the All-Star break. But we also thought they were going to trade him. So I guess what do we know? And then moving on from the NBA to college, we had a humongous upset. I guess not a massive upset in the grand scheme of things because it's the number 9 team beating the number 1 seed. But Arizona has looked unstoppable this season as they go down and they lose to Kansas. And I think one of the main things that made this game so shocking is, first of all, it's the only loss Arizona has the entire season. They've been undefeated up until this point. And then one of the main points in that is Kansas is missing their best player, Darren Peterson, who's projected by some to be the number 1 overall pick in this upcoming draft class. The freshman who's been outstanding this entire year wasn't playing in this game, and they were still able to knock off the number 1 team in the country, which leaves one undefeated team in college basketball.
Can you guess it?
I know you guys were all thinking it had to be Miami of Ohio, and you'd be correct.
We should have just said Miami and just left it there for a couple of seconds of Ohio. But yeah, definitely a team I would not have expected to be still undefeated at this point in the season.
They are now the team to beat in college basketball, the only undefeated team in the nation. And I know there was a streak that they went on where they were winning like 1-score games, 1-2-point overtime games where they had to hit game winners. It was just an insane streak. It wasn't even like they were just blowing everybody out. They were just winning every game by a million. They had a close game back to back just all throughout, and they were able to pull it out in the end. I think it's just a testament to those guys and the resiliency on that team, because obviously they're not going to have the 5-star top-end talent that some of these big schools have, but they're showing that you don't need it. Kind of an Indiana story.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Indiana beat ranked opponents. I don't know how many ranked opponents are on the Miami of Ohio schedule. I don't know if you can compare the Big Ten to the MAC.
I'm not even sure what conference they're in.
I think they're in the MAC.
Definitely a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens come March with that Miami of Ohio team, because granted, unless they lose every game from here on out, I think they'll be in the tournament, and we'll see. They're either going to be in the tournament and shake it up, or they're going to go win the NIT.
Well, see, being from a smaller conference, it's going to be if they go on a losing streak, you basically have to win your conference championship, the postseason tournament to even get into the tournament. So hopefully they can stay hot so we can at least see them make the tournament. I feel like maybe there'll be an at-large bid. I think they're in the top 25 right now, so we'll see how that plays out.
I'd love to see a completely undefeated Miami of Ohio team enter the NCAA tournament as probably like a 10, 12 seed.
I think they'll be higher than that, maybe. If they're undefeated at that point, they'll probably I'd give them like a 5 seed.
They're
maybe.
undefeated now, and they've got them ranked like 22nd in the country, I believe. I know it's somewhere between 20 and 25 right now, but I don't think they're putting any respect on Miami of Ohio's name. I think they need to move them a little bit higher. And if they go into that tournament as one of those like middle of the pack seeds, I could see them making some noise.
Well, it depends on who they're matched up with. I haven't looked at their schedule, so I can't talk too negatively about them. But yeah, it's going to be a tough.
And then moving on to the teams in the Carolinas, the South Carolina women's team is now 24-2. They've got a tough matchup with LSU coming up on Saturday. We've got a couple of tough matchups for the teams in the Carolinas coming up on Saturday, as we'll get into another one later on. But this one, they've got number 5 LSU on Saturday. This is a South Carolina team who's got 2 losses, which doesn't sound bad in the grand scheme of things. But when you think of how good South Carolina women's basketball has been, 2 losses is probably too many, Don Staley would tell you.
Yeah. Right now they're playing really good, at least for the game against Tennessee. Given Tennessee, which I mean has a storied women's basketball program. You think back to the Pat Summitt days, they've built a really good legacy there for women's basketball at Tennessee. This was their worst loss in program history. They lost by I think 41 points. Just really good shooting from South Carolina. I think that was Tessa Johnson right there with the 3. She's been hitting the 3 ball really well recently. I was joking with my family, maybe if we put her on the men's team, that South Carolina might actually be good again. But I don't know. But it was really good team performance from South Carolina, and they need it at this point. Especially looking forward to that marquee matchup against LSU on Saturday, a Valentine's Day game against the basically 2 heads in the SEC that are rivals between. Well, I guess if you ask LSU fans, it's a rivalry. South Carolina's beat them 17 straight times, so I don't know if it is. I mean, historically, if I'll give LSU credit, right now they lead the all-time series record. I think it's 22-21. They beat South Carolina 20 out of 23. Yeah. LSU had 20 wins and 3 losses to South Carolina before 2010, but since then it's been all South Carolina. South Carolina's currently on a 17-game win streak. But obviously there's a lot of bad blood between the 2 programs. I remember the fight a couple years back at the SEC championship. You have Malaysia Fuwali, former South Carolina player. I guess you could say she was underutilized. Well, she was a role player coming off the bench for South Carolina, which I guess she didn't. She wanted to go, I guess, somewhere else for more playing time, so she went to LSU. And I mean, I wish her all the best. I liked watching her play for South Carolina. I have no ill will towards her. She was a really good player from the state of South Carolina. Wish her the best, but it was kind of tough to see her go to LSU, especially given the history between the two programs. And yeah, if you go on social media, there's no love lost between these 2 programs. The LSU fan base likes to chirp at South Carolina, and like I said, as this point in time, losing 17 straight games against South Carolina, I don't know how big this hill you have to stand on right now.
1 game.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out on Saturday. Like I said, it's a very, very big matchup, and there's going to be a lot of emotion in that game.
Yeah, and then moving over to the men's side of things, the men's team is 11-13. They're 2-9 in the conference. They're struggling kind of as we expected in the SEC this season. I don't know if we expected them to potentially be this bad in the conference. I mean, 2-9 is definitely a pretty horrid start to the conference schedule. We expected them to struggle, but I don't know if we expected them to struggle quite this much.
No, I mean, they started off strong to begin the season, but I kind of mentioned it was because they weren't playing those really good teams. They were playing a bunch of mid-majors, but their struggles have really shown in SEC play. And at this point in time, I don't see it getting any better anytime soon.
Yeah, and then kind of the opposite story for the Clemson men's basketball team, as they are now 20-4 on the season. They're sitting atop the ACC, and this is that other big matchup we have on Saturday, as Clemson is going to be playing against Duke on Saturday, and they're both tied for the top of the ACC, so that game will decide who is going to be in that top spot.
Yeah, it's. I know Duke will be looking to rebound after the loss to North Carolina. They led that. Obviously another rivalry game where there a lot of energy spent. They basically led for the majority of that game, but North Carolina came back, hit that game-winning shot to win up there in Chapel Hill. The Clemson men's side have been playing really well recently. We'll see if they can keep that up. It's definitely going to be a tough opponent. I'd say they're the underdog. I don't know if it's a home game or they're playing at Cameron Indoor, but it'd be a tough game regardless of where it's going to be played at. But I guess we've seen so far this year, one game won't define your season. With Clemson, they lost a game to NC State that I don't think anyone really expected them to lose. And they rebounded so far, so even if they do lose that game against Duke, I think they're still in a really good position.
Yeah, I think you're definitely gonna be seeing this Clemson men's basketball team in March. You're gonna see them probably within Sweet 16, Elite 8, I think is kind of the expectation here. But we're definitely not gonna see this Clemson team go away or shy away from the competition after this game. Whether they win or lose, I think they're gonna finish the season strong and make a run in March.
Well, that's the hope for Clemson. I know they had a really good regular season last year, but they got upset in that first round. I believe it was to McNeese State. Maybe that was the year prior. But, yeah, they're a really good regular season team in recent years, but they haven't seen the postseason success so far. I think, given how well they've done so far, I feel like the Sweet 16 has to be their bare minimum for Brad Bromell and those players. It'll be a tough task. Obviously, all those games in March will be tough. With the seasons on the line, but yeah, I think they've positioned themselves well to be in the Sweet 16. But you'd hope for them to at least continue that success once it comes tournament time.
Yeah, and then moving over to the Clemson women's team, they're now 17-8 on the season, 8-5 in the ACC, which I think has been good to see. This Clemson women's team, as we've talked about it week in and week out, they're continuing to improve every single year and get better and kind of make a name for themselves in the ACC, trying to solidify themselves in that conference as one of the better teams in the conference. They're not quite ready to fight for the conference title or for that top spot in the conference, but they're definitely well on their way there.
Yeah, we've been talking all season about how well, the whole rebuilding process for Clemson has been going for the past couple of years, and we're really seeing it show out this season so far. With a 17-8 record, 8-5 in ACC, I believe that. I would assume that would put them in the top half of the ACC, which is a good spot to be in. But it's really good to see them actually succeed again. It's been a while since they've been, I guess, near this level of success.
Yeah, and then moving over, speaking of success, the Coastal Carolina men's basketball team is 15-11 on the year, 7-6 in the conference, currently sitting at 5th in the Sun Belt. And if you're going to tell me that this Coastal men's basketball team was going to be top 5 in the Sun Belt at this point in the season, I definitely would not have believed you before the season. But they've shown the resiliency, and I believe this game was the one where there was like game winner or game tying shots, game winning shots, and just down the stretch of the game, I think there was like 2 or 3 shots within like the last 10 seconds of the game.
Yeah, this game was insane. I'm gonna be mad at myself because I was thinking about going to this game, get Coastal hosting UMass in the Sun Belt MAC Challenge, a return to the South Carolina Palmetto State from UMass head coach Frank Martin. He used to coach for the Gamecocks, led them to the Final Four. But it was a really good game actually. It was starting to turn into a blowout. At one point, UMass had a 14-point lead. Coastal had, I think, a 5% chance, maybe even a little bit less, based on ESPN's probability to win this game. They went on a big run in the second half, and then the real chaos started happening. Like you mentioned, the clutch shots down the stretch. I believe it was UMass that hit a 3-ball to send it into the first overtime. Then it was, I believe, Rasheed Jones to hit basically stepped through a player, just tucked up a 3-point, somehow got it to go through to send it to a second overtime. UMass was like, all right, cool, we'll send it to a third overtime with a shot from almost half court, and then come to the third overtime, Josh Beadle, I believe it was Josh Beadle, who was playing for the majority, all of overtime and a good portion of the second half with 4 fouls, was in foul trouble for probably 20-plus game minutes before even hitting this shot with 2 seconds left to go in the game. If you have like heart issues as a Coastal fan, this game was not the game to be watching. You may have lost a few years off your life or something like that. And it was a wild week even before this game for Coastal. They hosted, I believe it was Arkansas State in the midweek. It was a game Coastal should have won. They had like a 7-point lead with less than 2 minutes to go. They had a 95% chance to win that game. They ended up losing that game. So if you just think about it, they lost that game when they should have won, and then they won the game that they should have lost. You could say it was a wild week, but it was good to see the resiliency from the Chanticleers to fight back, especially not even with especially when you consider the tough midweek loss and then getting down early in that UMass game.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see from a program that's kind of been on the rise and been one of the lower programs in the Sun Belt for the past few seasons. And for how surprisingly successful the men's team has been, the women's team has been equally as surprisingly unsuccessful, as they're 11-14 on the year, currently sitting at 4-8 in the conference in the Sun Belt. And I think before the season, this women's team was hoping to have a chance in the Sun Belt to win it at the end of the year, or at least be in the running and competing for it. But at this point, they're going to need to fight and claw to try and even get a 500 record in the conference.
Yeah, it's a tough road ahead for them. They've been struggling a lot this season. I don't know if I can pinpoint as to what the problem is. I still have full faith in the coaching staff. They still got some solid players around. Things just haven't gone their way so far this season, and I don't know how much time's left for them to actually make a run. So it's going to be tough for them. Yeah, we've mentioned it all season. If you looked at these records, I would assume their record would have been the men's, which still would have been an improvement from last year. But it's tough to see them. Which they still have a lot to play for. So maybe all it takes is a few four-game run maybe for the conference championship. Postseason tournament, and you book your spot in the big dance. But right now it doesn't look like that's going to happen for them.
Yeah, the biggest thing in college basketball is how are you playing in March? So if they can put together a few wins in a row here and then play their best basketball when they need to, I think they definitely have all the talent and the coaching staff to potentially make that run that you just talked about. But they're definitely going to need to make some changes before then, or at least mindset changes, or something's going to have to change in order for that run to happen.
Yeah, it's looking more and more likely that's going to be their only shot of, I guess, a good quality season for them so far. I think if you would ask them, they're probably falling short right now of expectations. But, we've mentioned, I think they still, Kristen Williams is still a quality player for them, and maybe she can hopefully lead the team to some success for the second half of the season.
Yeah, and then moving on, we had softball opening weekend this past weekend with Coastal Carolina starting off their season 1-3 on the year. Definitely not the start they wanted, but it's opening weekend. There's still a lot of games left to play.
Yeah, and they were also playing a really good teams. I know one of their games were against Arkansas, who's probably top 15, which is maybe even a little generous. They may be higher than that. They may be top 10. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But tough opening weekend for Coastal softball. And they're also coming off of a good season last year. I believe it was last year when they made the regional. They played at Georgia. I believe it was between them and Georgia in that regional. I think they were the last two teams standing in that regional. Georgia ended up coming up on top, which, I mean, Georgia was another top 15 opponent. I mean, because we were joking yesterday, if you think SEC football is loaded, just wait till you see what SEC softball has in store.
Yeah, that's a bit for years.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, basically, like, it seems like if they have like 10, 12 teams in the top 25 every year, which is crazy.
I remember there was a run, like probably 10 years ago now, but where Arkansas and Alabama played each other in the national championship like every single year. It seemed like it was almost.
Yeah. Now that even we have since Oklahoma and Texas joined, Oklahoma is like the powerhouse. They've barely lost. You'd probably have to go back 5 years to find the last like 5 teams they've fought.
It might have been Oklahoma that I'm thinking about. I think it was Oklahoma. I got my red colors mixed up there. It was Oklahoma and Alabama who were playing each other in the national championship. Like seemed like every year, every other year. It's almost like the Alabama Georgia matchup in football at that point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was just opening weekend, so there's a long season still ahead. But the softball team, I think, is still poised for good success, especially coming off of the last year. So we'll hope they can pick things up going forward.
And then both the other teams in South Carolina and Clemson are both in the top 15 in the preseason coming into this first week. As South Carolina went 2-2.
I believe they're 3-2. They played 2 games on Monday.
Oh yeah, so they had a back-to-back, so they had that extra game. So they're 3-2 now. So both teams are 3-2. Both teams within the top 15. It'll be interesting to follow them along, especially because they have much higher expectations than that Coastal Carolina team. And it's going to be a tough run for both teams, but as we just talked about, the SEC is a gauntlet, so it's definitely going to be a much tougher path for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year's success, at least I guess in my opinion, I think the last year's really great success from the softball team was kind of unexpected. But I mean, I love to see it. Don't get me wrong. I think Ashley Chastain Woodard, the coach for the Gamecocks, had an unbelievable season. They were 1 game away, probably of they were 1 game away from making the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City. I can't believe. I can't remember who they were up against in that super regional matchup, but they had a lot of success last year, setting a lot of records. Last year they started the season off with like 20 straight wins. They had the lead in that first game of the season they played. They were up like, I want to say like 5-1, 5-2 against Virginia Tech. But the kind of had struggles on the mound, which I guess you can expect that very early into the season. Just getting the jitters out there. Which it's unfortunate that they lost that first game, because both of their losses were both to Virginia Tech, who's also ranked number 19th in the country. So some top 25 matchups to begin the season, which is good to see, but kind of get a litmus test of what your team is like. But it's just the beginning of the season. There's a long season ahead of you, so there's a lot to iron out. So I mean, I'm not too concerned right now. Yeah, and then the Clemson softball team, they've only been around for I don't want to say those 2 numbers, but they're 6 or 8 years. I don't know.
No 6, 7 today.
They've I can't remember exactly how long they've been a program. It hasn't been too long, but ever since they've started, they've been really good. You could probably make the argument that they've been the best softball program in the state since they've started. I can't remember exactly what I think they lost either in the supers or the regionals last year. But they're posed for a good season there. I think their losses, one was to Auburn, the other one I can't remember off the top of my head. But I mean, they still got 3 wins on the weekend, so a lot to look forward to. Yeah. The ceiling is still high for both of these. I guess all 3 of these programs.
Yeah, speaking of high ceilings, baseball is gearing up to get underway with Coastal Carolina having their first game, I believe, on Friday, right?
Yeah, they host Fairfield Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, and speaking of expectations, I mean, this Coastal team is definitely, I think right now they've started the social media campaign Road to Omaha. They're looking at getting back to Omaha and looking at another chance at a national championship, and they've definitely got the talent to do it. I mean, they have who's been ranked as the best pitcher in the country so far. It looks like he's gearing up to be a first-round pick in next year's upcoming MLB draft with Fluky. So it'll definitely be interesting to watch them throughout the season and see if they can live up to those very high expectations.
Yeah, it's a scary thought in that preseason press conference when, not even, I guess, just a few weeks ago, Kevin Schnall was like, Cam Fluky has gotten better. That's an insane thought especially with how well he performed last year. I mean, looking at the Coastal Carolina baseball team, they've lost a few some key pieces from last year's team. You can think of Jacob Morrison on the mound.
Caden Bodine.
Yeah, Caden Bodine. That's the name I was blanking on. And then Seabass in the outfield. Sebastian Alexander. Some key pieces that led them to that run to be national runner-ups in Omaha to LSU. But they've also I think they have 14 returning players and 16 new players. But they still got some solid pieces around them. You have Colby Thorndike, Blake Barthol, Blagan Pato, Walker Mitchell. Some really good players to build around. And like you said, the expectations are sky high for this team. But I believe under Kevin Schnall and this whole coaching staff, I believe they've built this program around, focusing, don't letting the outside noise get to you. I mean, obviously, they have some high hopes, and I think they're setting their standards to live up to those expectations.
Yeah, and then we've got opening weekend, so you've got Clemson and South Carolina are going to be getting their seasons underway as well. I don't know if the expectations are quite nearly as high as they are for Coastal Carolina for either of those teams. I think the SEC's definitely got some tough teams in their conference as well, with LSU, who's been a powerhouse in college baseball ever since I can remember.
Yeah, I know for the Gamecocks' perspective, the expectations would be, I guess, to finish in the top half of the SEC. The Gamecocks baseball program has been on a downslide for honestly, I guess you could make the argument ever since Ray Tanner left to become the athletic director at South Carolina, which I can't really blame him for. That's what I remember him saying, that was like his lifelong dream to be an athletic director. But since then, the baseball program has gone on a downturn. I mean, they made 3 straight national championships appearances, winning 2 of those before he stepped down in the early 2010s. I know one of their pitchers is already out for the season with a arm injury. So I don't know what the expectations is. This is still a storied program, like historical success for the Gamecocks. So you want to get them back to that level. I just don't see it happening this year, especially. Not especially, but when you factor into they have a coach. This is, I believe, his second year. Paul Menu. I don't know how to say his last name either. He used to coach at LSU. Kind of fell out there, but he's getting up in age, and I don't know if this new era of college athletics is the best system for him. But it's going to be a tough test for them. And then on the other side, you have Clemson, which they've been the past several years, like I was kind of mentioning about their basketball team, a really good regular season team, but then when come postseason, they ghost you. They don't know, they can't get they were they were a top 16 regional host site. People were arguing that they should have been even higher than where they were. They were in the top 10 pretty much the entire season last year, but they lost their own regional. Which is kind of the story for Clemson. They have a really good regular season, and then when the postseason comes around, just forget how to play baseball. I don't know. But, they'll still be set up for success. Eric Bakich, I believe, is their head coach. He's done a really good job of building the brand of Clemson baseball. They've been a really good team the past several years, but they just haven't had postseason success.
Yeah, and we've got one last opportunity to talk about college football. As I know we probably thought we were done talking about college football a couple weeks ago, but there is one change that has happened over the past week, and North Dakota State is finally joining the FBS level, as they're going to be joining the Mountain West Conference, the conference that's been pretty much dominated by Boise State for a long time now. And I think it's a great move. They're going to be, and this is an interesting one, as they're starting this season.
Yeah.
So, which is interesting because usually they're like, hey, we're announcing we're going to be moving up to FBS, joining this conference. It's usually like 2 to 3 years out before it starts, but they're making this effective immediately, and it's only going to be for their football program, with North Dakota State staying in their regular conference, in their regular leagues for all their other sports. But this football program needed to move conferences.
Yeah, I mean, they're better than a good amount of non-Power 5 FBS programs. Like they've been a dominant force in FCS years, and I still got bad blood with them because they've knocked out Coastal, I believe, 2 times in like 2013 and 2014, I believe, in the FCS playoffs, which I believe one of them Coastal should have won. There was some bad refereeing in that game, but I haven't. But
we don't want to bring all that back.
But I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, they're a powerhouse. I mean, I don't know if you said it yet, but we've compared them to the Nick Saban Alabama.
Yeah, so they have had 10 national championships in the past 15 seasons of football, which, if you don't jump leagues after that, like if an NFL team won 10 Super Bowls in 15 years, they'd have to just start playing a new sport. They'd join the NBA or something. It's not fair at that point. I think they needed to make this move probably 5 national championships ago, because they've just been winning them year in and year out, sending guys to the league. I mean, you can think of 2 top 5 draft pick quarterbacks in Carson Wentz and Trey Lance. Granted, they didn't exactly pan out as top 5 draft picks, but you're still sending top 5 draft picks to the league in a position where you're playing against FCS talent. I think they needed to make this move a while ago. And like you said, the comparison to Alabama, I personally said it's like Nick Saban Alabama on steroids, as this program has just been so dominant.
I mean, yeah, they've been good for so long. I'm glad they're finally making that move. And I believe they're in a really good spot, even in the Mountain West. They're probably going to be a quality team in that conference. I can't think of anyone. I mean, I think that's the same conference Boise State's in, so they'll probably give them challenge. But I know, like, even the past couple of years, if you're scheduling opponents and you're scheduling FCS opponents, and you see North Dakota State on your schedule,
nope.
Yeah, I don't. You don't treat that game like if it's an FCS opponent, because if you do, you're going to be out of luck. I know, heck, even last year, I believe they started the season on the road at the Citadel, which was kind of, I didn't go to that game or see it, but it's kind of cool to see them back in the Palmetto, somewhat, I guess, close to home. But they're definitely a team that they're going to be given a couple of years, I expect them to be one of those group of 5 teams competing for that seat in the playoff.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to be, they're going to jump in and, I think personally, probably be favorites to win the conference in their first year. I don't know how that's going to work for like bowl games and conferences, if they're going to have to sit out a year.
I would assume it's going to be the same thing that kind of happened to Missouri State this year, where Missouri State was bowl eligible, but they couldn't really play in that. Well, actually, no, they did get. I think they ended up getting to play in that bowl.
Yeah, but I think it was only because people opted out.
Yeah, so yeah, normally you have to wait a year, that even happened to James Madison when they joined the FBS. They had a really good year, but they had to sit out. I guess as we're wrapping up, I'll also mention some big high school football news. Quickly mentioned, the head coach for Drew Marlowe leaving South Lawrence after 6 years. He led the South Lawrence to really good seasons. During his 6 years there, he had 2 state championships and 4 state championship game appearances. I mean, you can think about the talent that he's had there. I mean, think of the Sellers brothers, the players that he's had. So this year, Messiah Jackson is a quarterback who's going to Brown, an Ivy League school, which is really cool to see.
South Carolina.
Yeah. He resigned, and I believe his reasoning was other coaching opportunities, which nothing is official just yet. There's
through the grapevine.
There's some speculation as to where he's going, but nothing is official just yet. We'll mention that when that becomes official. But I hate to see him leave, but he was a really good leader for the Bruins program. But definitely some big shoes to fill in South Lawrence. I'm not sure who will get that role. We'll have to we'll play that one by ear, but it's going to be a big miss for them.
Yeah, definitely been great at building that program over there. Like you said, 2 national championships in 6 years, 4 appearances in 6 years. I mean, you can't really ask for much better than that
Yeah.
out of a coach. You can't really expect any better than that as a coach. If you bring in a coach and he brings you to four state title games and wins 2 of them, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed in that coaching hire. It's definitely not good for that football program to see him go. Hopefully they'll be able to carry on the momentum. I mean, they have all the athletes. They're going to have all the athletes out there in South Florence. It seems to be the powerhouse school to go to for football. Like you said, they're sending guys to South Carolina, up to Columbia all the time. You've got the Sellis brothers, who have been the most notable recently. So I expect it to still be kind of a pipeline in South Florence and just continue to the success that he built.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, even if he's not there, I still think there'll be a team to watch. And, I mean, you'll see plenty of them this year. They're back in that beach region in 4A with all the realignment and stuff like that. So, I mean, it'd be a fun story to follow. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, and then the Olympics are underway. And as of right now, the U.S. has 5 medals. They've got 2 golds, 2 silvers, and 2 bronze, which is – they've got that hasn't been updated quite yet because this medal count is as of Tuesday morning, so they've got 5 right now. I'm sure by the end of Tuesday they'll probably have 2 or 3 more. They're definitely expected to win a couple today, and then if you watch this on Wednesday or Thursday, they've probably got a few more at that point. It's just going to keep running up the total as the events go on.
Yeah, so far the U.S., they had Breezy Johnson winning gold in that women's downhill skiing race. They won gold in a team event in figure skating. I believe that's the event that Alyssa Liu was in. She was she was one of the like big names to watch for the United States Olympic team coming into the Winter Games. It's good to see them success. I can't remember the other names on that the figure skating team, but it was they had a high-powered, a really good roster coming in. Just other storylines to talk about for the Olympics. Unfortunate how things played out for Lindsey Vonn. That unfortunate crash, which I mean,
Like
it's
second crash.
yeah, it's insane that she was even able to. It was insane that she was even like, I guess, willed her way to even be able to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Like after tearing her ACL and then like a week or so later doing those practice runs was unbelievable to watch. A huge testament to her. I don't fault her for going out there and trying. She knows her body. She's competed with injuries before. She's earned that spot on the Olympic team. I don't blame her for going out there. It's unfortunate how things played out, especially when you consider the reason for the latest crash wasn't even her knee. It was the pole getting a pole and the flag colliding, causing that injury. She's one of the greatest skiers from the United States has seen, and it's unfortunate this is how her career ends. But a huge testament to not only just how well she's done her entire career, being able to go out there at 41 years old, compete at a high level, won some races before the Olympics, tore ACL, then a week later was racing 80 miles down the hill. I can't do that healthy.
And she was looking like at that point like she was going to potentially be on the podium with a ACL that was considered like completely obliterated like 2 weeks before. She was airlifted off the hill when that crash happened. She tore her ACL, started doing a little bit of rehab. I mean, as much rehab as you can do in 2 weeks, and then going on a run at 41 years of age, and then having a chance at being on the podium in the Olympics at that point is just insanity, and it's a huge testament to her.
Yeah, I mean, I wish her a speedy recovery. I think she posted a statement that she's going to need multiple surgeries. It was a complex leg fracture, leg fracture. So I wish her all the best. Still a really great career. It's unfortunate how that played out. There's some other names to watch in the Winter Olympics for the U.S. You have the U.S. women's hockey team right now. They're doing really well. They won their first game 5-1 against, I believe it was Croatia. Then they both won their second and third games against, I can't remember who they were playing, but they won both those games like 5-0. They play Canada today as of recording on Tuesday afternoon, which everyone, I guess, expects that to be basically the gold medal matchup when it comes down to it. So we'll see how that one plays out. I know the U.S. women's hockey team, they've won, I believe, like 5 straight against Canada in recent years. So I would assume they're the favorites to win gold this year. But, I mean, obviously that's a lot of pressure to live up to. You have other things going on. I can't remember the combo, but there's a really good a figure skating like rhythmic skating or something like that. You have Michaela Schifrin, a few races. Her and Breezy Johnson raced this morning as of recording on Tuesday morning. They ended up finishing 4th in a team event. I think another U.S. pairing podiumed in that, and then all the other names like Chloe Kim. She's going for, I believe, her 3rd straight gold medal in the snowboarding half pipe, which would be really cool to see her to do that. So there's definitely a lot of. I mean, if you just watch the Olympics, there's a lot going on, and there's still a lot of quality U.S. athletes still left to compete. So definitely a time to tune in here on WNBF to watch all the Olympics coverage.
Yeah, definitely going to be keeping an eye on that, watching it on WNBF News. I'll plug it again. We're going to be watching that over the next week, and we'll be right back here next week to update you guys on the medal counts and let you guys know how well opening weekend went in baseball for the teams across the Carolinas. But until then, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next week.
Yep.